April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money. Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas yet. Asked the Guggenheim Straits aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. Baker's pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledger, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men, all them in Nashville car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller, Whittington, proximity, diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island, wrote the arithmetic dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The Daily Stack.
Where you learn the game?
The Daily Stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
So the engine started humming, watch a century capitulate. In 33 they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 6102 a decade in the silver, what you holding? Paid you 20, priced at 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a tablet printing press with underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it, Trugan on the ticket. No bond driving, no bake sales, just dilution, so specific. Come on, the whole casino nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with gold deposits called the Ashes Haven. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days. March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another, keep it moving. Stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving. Them 2 rows like it was raptured, 40 points in 2 rotations. And they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the world retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game. And the debt cost 37 trillion, interest east the budget. Now the only buyer left is math, the math is never fudge it. So block 0 was the answer to 100 years of Drake and Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate. But the 21 million is a covenant no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun. But you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins on a dime.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, a dollar in a costume, programmable and traceable. A leash inside your wallet's living room. Tether buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck rides on the app now. They can freeze it, that they issue. They can flag it, they can fence it. Money within our switches of yours. It's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one they cannot print and cannot be permission. From the blinds to the habit, not connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car.
I got candlesticks and cameras.
12:30 every weekday.
Teaching history in stanzas. They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The Daily Stack.
Where you learn the game?
The Daily Stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
We are getting the soundboard ready. We're improving.
Hey.
We have quite the day today. Obviously, we had the CPI print coming in. Today is Tuesday, July 14th. Pretty big news story. Obviously, number one, June CPI just printed down negative.
Man.
4%. Biggest monthly decline in inflation in 6 years, and the first outright drop in consumer prices since the pandemic. Core came in flat around zero. Treasury yields tumbled at the second it hit. Timing cinematic. We got the new Fed chair going to be making his debut testimony in front of the House Financial Services. We talked before the show. I was joking that I bought IBM the day yesterday, but it is down 25% with warning signs in the second quarter. Profits might miss on soft software and infrastructure demand. Story number 3, and then we'll get into you, father of trades, because I know you got a few mini monsters that we'll touch on. But New York just became the first state in the country to slap a moratorium on the new large data centers. So Governor Hochul, who actually used to live in the same building as in New York when she'd come in the city, it was pretty crazy with the Secret Service or whatever they had, security around her. But there was a knee-jerk reaction to my baby, Nebius, on this headline, obviously, and shouldn't have been because they are across the river in New Jersey. So people kind of, I guess, looking future in the forward thinking that maybe they wanted to build in New York. But how you feeling, man? It's been a bit.
I'm feeling really good about today, man. And feeling really good about the future, right? Feeling really good about the rest of this week. To be quite honest with you, I mean the inflation print being so good. I mean that's huge, right? That's huge, especially for like as you put it, right, the mini monsters, right? All of these small caps that are borrowing. It's good to know, or at least have maybe a little bit of a hint that there is less reason to be hawkish going forward, and there's less of a reason for rate cuts, right? So I think that's a really big deal. We saw all of the banks beat in a pretty big way this morning. A lot of the big financial institutions reported. Goldman Sachs, dude. So it's funny because in Discord, I was calling out, right? I was talking about, I think that Goldman Sachs is going to be, the big winner here. Yeah. And I was like, but it's expensive and I'm not going to take a trade. And I didn't.
Why did you like Goldman Sachs? Just for those not in your Discord. And if you're not in his Discord, now's my chance to shill your Discord.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. But why do you think so for Goldman Sachs?
So Goldman Sachs is very diverse in the way that they operate. So not only are they an investment bank, but they also have a really, really large arbitrage desk. And they also are very good at handling volatility. Now, that's the appropriate answer. The inappropriate answer is that they're the best criminals. They're the best criminals out of all of them, right? So when I'm looking at banks, what I want to know is I want to know who the good criminals are. Who is good at doing shit that toes the line and can make a ton of money doing it? And Goldman Sachs is definitely them, right? I mean, historically, throughout time, they have proven time and time again that they are excellent at skirting the law, skirting regulations, and making an absolute killing. So yeah, that was basically my thesis for Goldman Sachs. And as it turns out, it happened to be right. And, kicking myself a little bit for not taking that trade, right? That seemed kind of obvious. But, it is what it is. I'm enjoying this nice green day for a change. Didn't have to, hardcore hedge by shorting NASDAQ. So that, it's a wonderful day. Okay. It's a wonderful day. Today's like an easy day, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope it continues. The Goldman Sachs up 20% in the last 6 months. It is up 7.26% today. I was checking that. Got to give a shout out to my boy Problem Sniper, who's going to be coming on later today. I think it was a July trade. I closed it early. But he did have the 1100s for July at some point, and I think I closed in mid-June, which I did very well on those. So not kicking myself on those.
It's hard to be upset at a win. Okay.
Yeah.
No one ever went broke taking profit. Okay, Avi. Like no one.
That is the name of the game.
Absolutely.
And also with Nebius, I've been trading that very poorly. So sometimes you just got to let your things just sit, and especially if they're in the IRA, you don't fucking need to trade them.
Yeah, leave it alone. Especially if it's shares, right? You're not trading options. You don't have a time limit. I mean, there's no rush, right, when it comes to long-term investing. And I think that Nebius, I think this is an overreaction. I think that it is. I think that it's really solid. Like, I mean, that's something that I think in 5 years is going to be, one of those. Oh man, this was so obvious. Like this was such a no-brainer hold.
And we're gonna introduce this new game today. I don't know if you're ready for it, but we were texting about this, and we were traveling for. Where if you pick a stock, which we're going to do these mini monsters, I'm going to use AI just because I'm not that smart, and I'll use AI to try to defeat your stock. And the purpose is to make sure that it's a stronghold that the mini monster can hold up against it. So we'll get into that today. But I brought that up because with Nebius, Joey brought up a good point, and this is something that I've been thinking about too. You saw the news with Meta with Nebius, right? And it just dropped it, even though it was kind of a bullshit fugazi news. Do hyperscalers just build out their own, and do they, and they're renting these contracts a lot of the times they're going, a couple years out. So are they using them as a stepping stone until they can actually build these out themselves? That's my own conflicting bear case for Nebius long term. I know that they are going up, they're creating more of a verticalization there as well. And if you don't know that stock, this is not the stock you picked today. So all good. But to battle against that thought, how can I still remain confident, you think, with Nebius?
So I think that there is an interesting argument to whether, they're building their own, right? I think that one thing that I would say is that it's going to take an extraordinary amount of time and an extraordinary amount of money, right? The capital investment up front to build out that AI infrastructure is extremely expensive. So I think that even if their plan, these hyperscalers' plan, is to develop their own, it is quite far in the future, and Nebius has a lot of earnings left to go before that time comes. And also, in addition to that, I would mention, think about the liabilities, right? So it is much easier to shift that burden onto a third party, right? If something goes wrong, they're responsible. Sure, your service is impacted, but they're responsible. If they can't hold up their end of the contract, you can sue them, right? If that's all in-house, you assume that liability. So it makes sense to kind of shift some of that risk off onto another company. And I really just don't see, I guess, a world where they are replaced, maybe augmented by, some internal projects, but not entirely replaced.
You mentioned the cost, and my initial thinking was like, all right, if there's demand for these data centers, construction companies are going to just increase their prices as well. So went to Claude to fact check myself here. Average cost per square foot surpassed $1,000 for the first time in 2025, reaching $1,033 by the year end. In 2023, it was $535. So it's almost like basically doubled here.
Now,
2 years.
Now there's another point to that though that I would that I think is worth mentioning.
Playing tennis,
right? You have to very intentionally choose the locations of these data centers, right? Like they need to be close to water. Okay. They need to be in a place, ideally, that is not prone to natural disaster, right? So it wouldn't make sense to go build, a bunch of data centers all in, let's say, Louisiana, where, it's going to be under threat of hurricane all the time. Yeah. Right. You're going to want it to be on high ground if it's a place where it rains a lot. Preferably, obviously, you want like a natural aquifer to be able to draw from for cooling. So there are some considerations, and that's without even getting into like state law, right? For instance, like you just mentioned, New York. New York actually would be a wonderful place to do this, right? I mean, they get plenty of rain in New York. It's general. I mean, the summers can get hot, but generally it's pretty cool, right? Compared to like the South. But the laws stop it there. So, that's why the thing that I've been looking at, right, and the area that I've been looking at so much is Texas. I've been looking at Texas a lot.
Well, to that point, is Texas is hot usually.
Texas is hot. Texas is hot. But they're extremely friendly to this.
They are.
And they are pushing through any kind of data center or like the power infrastructure for the data center. They're pushing those permits through like crazy quick.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the second largest air pollution permit in the nation is in Texas at the Matador project that's run by Fermi.
Yep. Which we're going to get into.
Which we're going to get into, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. You could almost look at this as I know that it dropped on that New York news, but it creates more constraints, right? So it should be looked almost like bullish. The fact that if certain states are not going to do that, and for these hyperscalers, you're talking about, they have a lot more to lose than some of the neoclouds that are out here.
Absolutely.
So they may not want to take the risk seeing something with New York. If other states come on, like California's probably not the best place.
No.
Just with earthquakes and everything that could happen.
No. And to be honest with you, like the earthquakes are really more prevalent in like central and southern California, right? Like if you get to the Bay Area and south, like up north would be a great spot for them. But I think that due to how strict California is with like climate control and everything,
right, yeah. They're going to be like
that it's just it doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, they're not going to allow the environment to be destroyed. So that is probably not the best place for a data center. Plus, California land's expensive anyway.
Right,
like, just go build that shit in the Midwest or like in a state that nobody lives in, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a third of the cost.
Mr. Wonderful is building the big one in Utah, right?
Mm-hmm.
These things are massive. It's like the college campus, basically.
Oh, they're huge. They're huge. The one that Fermi's building is, once the plans are basically that it's going to be the largest one in the U.S.
Yeah,
and it's sitting right on a natural aquifer, one of the largest aquifers. So that's like when I was looking at Fermi and I was looking at all of these different campuses and different locations, that one really stuck out to me because of its unique geography, right? Because it is situated on a large aquifer. It is in a state where there are not a lot of regulations, right? And I think that's really something that we need to be considering.
Yeah, and look at this is talking about the Amarillo one. Picture went away. There we go. But yeah, I mean, you can't build them in cities, so they want to be away from people anyways. But yeah, these things are massive. And so, yeah, you bring up a good point. Like the hyperscalers may, it takes several years to build these out and cost a ton. And so the risk there is maybe not worth it for some of these guys. I did want to get into, let's pull it up. Do you want to do Anna first or?
We could do Anna. Anna, I'm down with Anna. I'm down with Anna.
Well, this is our first time doing this, so it's going to be a little sloppy, but I think every Tuesday we're going to do this where if you bring them in or I do it, you can reverse it.
Absolutely.
Let's start off with who they are. What do they do? Why do you like them? And then I'll come with some questions that will quiz you to make sure that it is a pound. We'll bring back on the table for this here.
Absolutely. So Anna or Aleanna, right? Ticker ANNA.
Yep.
These guys are a Italian liquefied natural gas, harvester, right? Driller. So I think that number one, right, the company seems to be very well run, right? They're controlling costs while they get all of this infrastructure built up. They already have existing permits, right? Number two, they've already identified, an area to drill. Number 3, they're still kind of working on getting the infrastructure built out. So this isn't like a mature business, right? This is something that is very much in the works right now, right? But that's the opportunity. And then I think that it plays really well given like the geopolitical situations that we have at hand, right? So number 1, Russia historically has been one of the biggest natural gas providers to Europe. And this is a trade that is based on European energy independence, which is something that we have been talking about a whole lot ever since Russia invaded Ukraine. In addition to that, with the recent attacks in the Middle East, right, and all the infrastructure that's been destroyed there, it hasn't just been crude oil. Okay. It hasn't just been crude oil. It has also been liquefied natural gas. And with that passageway opening and closing and opening and closing, right, we've ended this war 40 times at this point. Okay. And now it's back on. So with that kind of instability, there's price instability in Europe at the moment. And I think that number 1, this serves that need very well in taking some of the pressure off of them from having to source their natural gas from the Middle East and from Russia and being able to produce it domestically in Europe.
I didn't see this news. So Germany, I was talking about some of the craziness. I don't know if you can still hear me. I lost you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're frozen on my screen, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know why here. I got too many tabs popped up here. Germany called out Ukraine for the Nord Stream pipeline, which is interesting because there was rumors that the U.S. went in there and blew it up. But basically, I don't know why I'm frozen. Let me click out of some of these things. Jeez. Got the Minnesota Wi-Fi going on here. Hold on.
The
Germany on July 1st. There we go.
There we go.
I need more data centers around me. No, so Germany on July 1st, I missed that news. They accused Ukraine for blowing it up, which obviously supplies a lot of the power to Europe. So I don't know where that's at, if they were able to rebuild that or not. But that was a big conspiracy going around that the U.S. went in and blew it up.
It's funny that gets mentioned because that was the same line where Germany was saying, hey, you know what, we're not even going to accept it. So do you remember that happening where they were like, oh, well, we're going to basically wean ourselves off of Russian energy and we're not going to be buying it from them anymore. Yeah. So, I remember hearing that a few years ago. So it's funny to hear this now. It's like, why do you care? Right? If you're not going to be purchasing it, like, why do you care?
Yeah.
Just a little side note.
There's a lot of the world's not always a conspiracy, but if you want it to be, there's a lot of things you can dig in.
Look, if you're looking for it,
yeah,
you will find things that you're looking for, even if they're not true, right? People can convince themselves of things much easier than they can dig themselves out of that mental trap. Yeah, right? I mean, just look at the people that think Bed Bath and Beyond bonds from the defunct business are going to come back. I mean, look at people that think that AMC is going to squeeze. I mean, people have convinced themselves of some truly remarkable things in markets.
It's hilarious. All right, let's get into. We'll come up with a cooler name, but the challenge of the Anna Bull case.
Devil's advocate.
Devil's advocate. I like that.
There we go.
So the stock printed at a high of I think it was $18.70 in December 2024. Touched $2.31 of January this year, down about 90% from the high. If the asset story was always this good, why did the market take it to the woodshed, do you think? And what has changed then since the bottom, besides the Gradiza approval?
So I think that the asset story wasn't always this good, right? I would absolutely concede that point and say that if we are looking a few years back in time, this was a company that was looking for a place, right? This was basically an exploration company at that point. They hadn't obtained any permits. They didn't have a real solid location, right? They didn't have any of the connections that they have now. They weren't actually building anything. So I think that the asset back then was very, very overpriced, at those highs. Like it didn't really make any sense back then.
Yeah.
I think that the story makes sense now. And while I wouldn't be a buyer at 10, I was a buyer at 250 and 3 last time, and I'm a buyer at 250 and 350 now.
And the
that's
story
not an
is,
argument, but it is what it is.
No, that's fair. Insider selling, right? So you always, I didn't dig this up because a lot of these insider sales, people always overreact to them in general, just because they're pre-set up, years in advance. When they set it up, they allow them to sell their shares, and if a stock flies, you'd be dumb not to trim a little bit, right? But Nautilus Resources, C. John Wilder, both 10% owners in the filings show Nautilus has been selling Class A shares. If the people closest to the asset are trimming, why should retail be adding? Why? Walk me through why this doesn't matter for these guys.
So, just a little bit of a side note, right? So the first time when myself and a group of people, right, that I have in my Discord were loading up, and we were going really, really heavy into this thing in the end of February. And when the war hit, right, that's when we decided, okay, dude, all hands on deck. We're pushing this thing, right? This is happening. Yeah. Right. We saw how razor thin the actual tradable float was. So we started pushing it. And there was one day where we had just this big red candle, man. And it literally happened like that. It was so quick, maybe 2 minutes of just selling that took it down and ate into 20% of the gains. And then we get this filing afterwards that it's one of the directors. And I remember we were sitting in the Discord, we were talking, and my buddy was like, what an absolute fucking Muppet. Yeah. That's what he called him, an absolute fucking Muppet. And I was like, I can't believe this guy just sold. And then it went to 10 without him. So in regards to the director selling, obviously that's not the most bullish sign, right? Yeah. That's not the most bullish sign. But what I think we probably could agree on is that they are going to take their pay, right? They are going to take their pay when they're able to. Mm-hmm. And then number 2, being able to run a business and having that kind of acumen is very different from understanding capital markets, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, running a business that is trying to be a liquefied natural gas provider to Europe has a very, very different skill set than understanding where your stock is going. So in the case of this guy, he sold literally as a squeeze was starting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and you never know, right? People have various expenses. You never know what's going on.
You have to buy a new yacht, right? You gotta get an apartment for the mistress. I mean, I don't know what these guys do, right? I don't know what these guys do.
The other one is when executives leave, right? And so their CFO, Tristan Yap, resigned as CFO. Company just installed a new chief accounting officer this spring. 2 finance seats change in a stretch like this with a microcap usually makes investors nervous. What's your read on that turnover on top of them selling? From an outside perspective, one could say, okay, this company is shaking up quite a bit.
Absolutely.
So what happened there? Why you're not nervous?
So I will, number one, preface all of everything that I'm saying by saying that for me, this is a swing trade, right? This is not something that I'm going to be invested in for a long time, right? I'm simply looking to benefit from the price increasing, right? So we jumped in last week, and so far it's been very fruitful. Now, what I would also say is that similar to the way that, there's a different skill set between running a company and understanding capital markets, you have a little bit of a different skill set that is needed for something that is in the very, very early stages, right? Where all they are doing is offering and they are trying to kind of get the best deal. And then somebody who is managing the finances of actual construction and operation of this business. So these are two completely different skill sets, right? And they may require two completely different people. You know, we've seen this time and time again where maybe the founder of a business is really, really good at creating the product, but they're not so good at managing the company afterwards. So what happens? The board ends up kicking them out, right? That's what happened with Fermi, right? The board ends up kicking them out and says, hey, you know what? You had the foresight, you had the idea, great. Like you're a majority shareholder, that's fine. You know, we love you. Thank you so much. Now get out of the way because we need somebody in here that can actually deliver results. And I think that it's not unrealistic to say that that might be the case here, right? I mean, obviously, I don't know these people, but I think that it's possible that that's the case. So I would push back on that just a bit and say that, you know, if we saw that there were three CFOs in a year backing out, you know, my mind would instantly go to, dude, these books must be a mess and these guys don't want to touch it. They don't want to go to prison. Right. But that's not the case. What we're seeing is, you know, that there was a personnel change right at the time that the company's story was changing, right? When they're moving from basically this exploration company into a company that is actually building out the infrastructure and getting ready to deliver a product and have revenue. These are just two different skill sets. And not everyone has them both.
I didn't know anything about this, so if it's completely off base, let me know. But it's saying every molecule the company sells depends on Italian regulators, from the Ministry of Environment and Energy Security down to the regional approvals in Emilia-Romagna. One election or one policy shift in Rome, and the permitting math changes. How do you underwrite
100%.
a Dallas headquarters microcap whose entire business lives inside Europeans' country politics?
I would absolutely agree and say that this is a high risk investment, right? If you choose to long this for a long period of time, even a short period of time, right? They are completely beholden to the Italian government, right? To the local government and to Rome. So I wouldn't even push back on that because I 100% agree that is
the connection. So like, again, I don't know anything about this company right now. So why are they beholden to Italy? Is it Italian? I know they're headquartered in
so they're headquartered in Texas, but the entire business and all of the operations are in Italy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Correct. They're just headquartered here and listed here, right? That's it.
Okay. Let's see what other one. Today's CPI print was deflationary and yields are falling, which is normally rocket fuel for small caps. Meanwhile, we just touched on this before. New York just banned new data centers. The whole AI power trade is scrambling for an energy angle. Is ANNA working right now because of the company, or is it small cap energy name catching two macro tailwinds at once?
I think
25% this week, right? Or
something like that. Yeah. So I think that it's mostly those macro tailwinds, right? I don't think, because there hasn't really been any like development since I think maybe May in ANNA. Like I don't think that they've had really any kind of news. So I think that it is entirely due to the macro tailwinds, right, that are pushing them forwards. I don't think it has anything to do with the company specifically. I think it has everything to do with the way the company trades, the situation of the stock, the limited supply, the high cost to borrow, and that's really it, right? It doesn't have much to do with the actual fundamental thesis on the business, other than the fact, I guess, that they're in the right place at the right time, right? Liquefied natural gas.
So when would you look to sell this? Is something break the thesis? I know you said it's a swing trade. Is there a certain price target in mind that you'll start trimming?
So, you know, it's funny because the way that I approach these swings, right, is that I will hold until I see a change of trend, right? So whether that change of trend happens at 5, whether it happens at 8, whether this is the beginning of it, right, with the small pullback, and it starts bleeding out again tomorrow, I'm going to sell when I see sellers in control. But when I see buyers in control, I buy with buyers. If I see sellers in control, I sell with them, right? Try to keep it very simple. Big fan of the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. I'm stupid. I keep it simple.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a genius, right? You just have to follow what the market's doing.
Yeah. I mean, I've learned that multiple times, and I always get burned. whenever I try to get cute with it. So FRMI, you talked about this with Goldman Sachs, and I remember the first time we talked, you're like, I want to find the biggest crooks, like the people that are doing the best, something that is a little bit shady but still legal.
So that's why I love Fermi.
Yeah,
like, that's literally why I love it. That's half my thesis, bro.
Who are they again? Remind us for those that are new listening, real quick.
So Fermi has a really interesting story. So basically, the company is setting up one of the largest. I think it's actually going to be the largest campus in the U.S. In Amarillo, Texas, and one of their co-founders and majority shareholders is a former Texas governor and former Secretary of Energy under Trump's first administration, Rick Perry. So, when I saw that, I got to thinking, I'm like, man, who is better equipped to get all of these permits expedited, right? Yeah. Who is better equipped to know the hyperscalers that are leading all of this energy consumption than Rick Perry, right? And who is going to be better connected to get this done in Texas than the former governor of Texas?
Right.
So part of this has always been a play on Texan corruption, right? Sorry to any Texans out there. It is what it is, right? I call it how I see it, man. Rick Perry, this is what he's good at, right? This is how he got so far in government, is because he is good at this. Now, they recently had an offering, and that offering caught me a little bit off guard, because it's like, you're sitting at an area where there isn't a lot of trading volume, right? People aren't generally, like, this isn't a high traded name. There's not like a ton of liquidity, and they do this massive offering. And I'm thinking, like, okay, why would you do that here? Out of any place, like, why would you do it here? Why would you not wait for that first, like, anchor tenant to be announced and do it on the back end of all of this hype and all of this retail volume coming in? And part of me, because they don't need the money right now.
Right.
So, when I was looking at that, part of me started thinking, this might be a way to say, hey, friends, buddies, peers, come load up, right? I want to hand you convertible bonds, right? Hand you these convertible notes and give you capped call options, right? Get in, come fund it early. We're about to do some really crazy stuff. And that doesn't seem too out of the ballpark for Rick Perry, specifically Rick Perry. Now, there was also like a proxy battle that was taking place between the former CEO and largest individual shareholder, Toby Neugebauer, I think his last name is. It's fucking Toby. Yeah, it's Toby. Okay. So Toby was trying to push this fight. Basically, he got ousted from the company and from his position as CEO because he had erratic behavior, and he was the board was worried that he would cost them potential clients. And also, apparently he was just hard to work with, right? Which is the last thing you want in a CEO. So, he tries to lead this proxy fight, and he ended up trying to take it to court, right? To take it to court and basically force the board of directors to acquiesce to him as the largest shareholder. 1 hour before that court date was supposed to happen, okay, regarding like the appointment of like officers and directors in the board, which Toby wanted a hand in picking. He wanted to install his people in. 1 hour before this court date begins, judge recuses himself. So it's funny, we were talking about conspiracies earlier, right?
That seems like there's one under there.
Well, it certainly seems like a certain person who is very politically connected, especially within the government of Texas, and especially within the judicial branch. Maybe even somebody who had appointed this person. It rhymes with scary, and it rhymes with Harry. Yeah. And his first name rhymes with Dick.
Yeah. Okay? There you go.
So I mean, it seems like there was a little bit of a intervention. Like there might have been an invisible hand there that just tapped him on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, you know,
Yeah.
it'd be a lot cooler if you just resigned, if you just recused yourself."
Yeah. That's
So,
interesting.
so what it did is that recusal basically killed Toby's proxy fight because, you know, in order to find a new judge and reschedule everything, by the time that that's done, the issue will be null and void.
Yeah. That's interesting. No, that kind of validates your thesis there with, with being in that gray area.
I love the gray area, man. The gray
no-
area is where all the money gets made.
Yeah.
Like, to be
No, for
honest.
sure. And clearly you've done your research here. So pre-revenue company, right? So the revenue, I
Yes.
believe, is basically zero. They got about
it's zero.
35 employees, market cap's around 4 billion. So you're paying billions of dollars for this story in Amarillo, Texas. What do you actually own here besides the land, permits, and rendering? Is this all hopium, you know, for the retailers that are looking to get into this? And where do you build the castles in the sky, you know, as they say, like underneath the foundation?
So I think that when we are looking at this, yes, it is speculative, right? I wouldn't use the word hopium, just because we know that there is a massive need for these data centers, right? We know there's a massive need for the data centers and the private power grid that they are going to be on, right? So the current governor of Texas, you know, Greg Abbott, he has pushed forward laws, right, as well as the state government, that are basically barring these data centers from, you know, being inside of neighborhoods, being inside of areas where people actually are. This is out in the middle of nowhere. This is in the panhandle, right? It's just, there's nothing there. So I think that that's a really strong part of it. And I also think that with those permits, right, with those permits, and with the location, with its proximity to again, like a really large aquifer, so they have a water supply, which in Texas comes at a premium. I think that this is I think that this is just something that's too valuable to ignore. And even if it hasn't been built yet, think about what it can be when it is built.
Yeah.
Right. So
is this one you're holding
speculative, yes.
or is a swing trade for this?
So I am in actually I just tripled my position between Friday and yesterday. And I was kind of considering buying some more today. We'll see how it goes. But I am in a bunch of $6 and $10 calls for January. This is something where I think that at some point in the next month or two, you know, that I think a tenant's going to be announced. And I think that when that tenant is announced, it's going to be one of these big hyperscalers. And when you have, you know, a large business like, say, Amazon or OpenAI or Anthropic or in any of these companies, right? The second that they get involved, suddenly that narrative changes a bit. And it's no longer like, oh, this is pre-rev with no customers. It's like, well, it's pre-rev and they are going to help fund it using this anchor tenant, right?
Well, and you look at the New York situation. I mean, Texas created their own stock exchange, right? It's like,
absolutely,
not to go drastic and say civil war is happening, but like with this, the business civil war is happening. Somewhat,
absolutely,
right? People,
absolutely.
You know, a lot of wealthy people in New York moved down to Florida. People are moving to Texas, right? And so the moratorium in New York provides some momentum, I'd say, to Texas.
Agreed. Agreed.
And say, hey, business is open down here, you know.
Absolutely. And also in the Midwest, right? Like we've seen a number of them opening up in like Ohio, for instance, you know, which is really interesting considering that you know, Ohio, you know, they have a lot of rain, right? They have pretty close access to a lot of water. And it is a state that has a lot of just open land, right? Like it's very rural aside from Cincinnati and Cleveland. And let's be honest, I mean, you want to live in Cincy?
I'm looking up the biggest rainfalls. So Hawaii, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. So those areas are tougher. And then where's Ohio? Yeah, 39 inches.
It's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, no, interesting. All right, hold on. The anchor tenant walked away. So the stock collapsed 33% earlier this year after a customer agreement got canceled. That triggered securities fraud class actions with law firms circulating ever since. Stifle slashed its target from 29. I'm making sure this is the right one. Yeah. $29 to 17, specifically because they wait for a firm anchor tenant. Contract has dragged on. If the site is attractive as bulls claim, why has no hyperscaler signed on the dotted line yet?
Well, I think that a lot of that was because of that internal power struggle, right?
Yeah.
And that incident specifically is the entire reason that Toby was ousted from the board and that he was ousted from his position as CEO. Despite being the largest individual shareholder, he has no say in the board. And it is directly as a result of this, right? So a lot of that was attributed to him, right? I think that with him out of the picture, that honestly, I do expect one to come in soon. And as far as why they haven't yet, well, that's not to say that they're not in talks, right? That's not to say that they aren't in talks to do so. And I think that when we are looking at a project this complex, that if I was a hyperscaler, I would want them to have every single permit in place. I would want them to have a construction firm picked out. I would want them to have the hardware manufacturer already dialed in, right? I would want them to have everything, because when you are running one of these businesses that's consuming, this much compute power, you really cannot handle like a big delay.
All right.
So I think that, it makes sense for them to wait on that, again, that proxy fight to end, which, while it's not completely over, it is kind of in this spot where, it's basically dead in the water for the foreseeable future. And, now that, all of these permits have been gathered and everything, I think it's much more attractive now than it was then.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting. I wonder the dynamics with Greg Abbott and Rick Perry. But if he was able to, they are good friends. So
friends.
Yeah, I'm leaning bullish here. I guess why would you put dollars today into them? Is it more, I guess asymmetric bet here, where compared
Absolutely.
to like a CoreWeave for a Nebius?
So when I'm looking at this, right, by the time that it's completely de-risked and all the news comes out, you're not buying it for 650, right?
Yeah.
So is it riskier here? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the risk is what gives it the discount. The safety is what gives it a premium. So here I'm comfortable being risk on, because I've done enough digging into the campus and enough digging into the history and the credentials of the people involved that I feel pretty secure doing this, right? But again, I'm going to absolutely acknowledge that this is a risky investment, right? This is a risky trade, a risky investment. This is not this isn't like owning fucking Coca-Cola. I mean, we're talking about a pre-rev business that doesn't have a tenant, that's trying to build, take on a monumental task and build, one of the largest data center campuses in the world, and, the biggest one in the US.
What's their timeline to build this?
Probably like 2030.
Okay. Now, is this a buy the rumor, sell the news? So once they do get that tenant, or what's your catalyst to get out then at that point?
That.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because before any of the news drops here, as soon as that happens, people are.
As soon as that happens, I think that this thing is, trading at $15 to $20.
Yeah.
Does it stay there? Probably not. If they're smart, they're going to offer. If they're smart, they're going to take that opportunity, dude. If this thing gets to 20 and they don't offer, I'm going to be like, wow, these guys are idiots, right? For offering it $8 and not at 20, because the second that this thing pops up as a pre-revenue company, like you should offer. I remember I was talking to Eric Jackson at Stocktoberfest. Joey.
Are you going to the one in New York?
I don't think so. Not this year, right? Not this year, but I went last year down to Coronado. And man, let me tell you, if you haven't been, it's an experience. I 100% recommend that you go. And plus, you get to meet Joey. You get to meet Joey. Yeah,
well,
Joey and I hung out, bro. Oh, you've met Joey. Okay.
And my buddy Drew is there as well. But I heard it was fun.
It's a good time, man. It's a good
New
time.
York's in the backyard, so I'm going to definitely go to that one. And actually just got asked to potentially speak there, so that'd be kind of fun too.
Ooh, very fun.
Yeah, so that will be interesting. I'll definitely be there. Haven't been confirmed here as a speaker, but I just got a DM before the show asking.
Great, man. That's great. Yeah, so I when I was talking to Eric Jackson, I told him, and it's funny because I think that Open Door is a terrible company. Like I think that the idea is terrible. I think that fundamentally they're terrible. I think management sucks, right?
I like the idea of it, but they don't have anyone. Like I was looking in New Jersey and they had like 6 homes. I was like, you guys got to advertise on the subways for all these people leaving to the suburbs and get people on there. But yeah, that story, we popped in there with Eric Jackson. I actually brought him on the show. He's a good salesman because
he is. He's definitely good at that. He's definitely good at that.
I think Joey got out too. I've definitely got out of that. So it's not coming into fruition.
So it's funny because when I was talking to him, I was like, hey, big respect for what you did with Open, and he was like, oh, good. Like, are you in it? And I was like, no chance. And he was like, why not? And I was like, because I'm shorting it. Like, I'm shorting it here. And he was like, shorting it. Like, he kind of looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, why are you shorting it? Yeah. And I'm like, I don't believe in the business. And, aside from the fact that they don't really address like an unmet need, right? So think about it this way. Like, you're going to go buy a house. Mm-hmm. Are you going to take a virtual tour or do you want to actually go there? And the answer is you want to actually go there. And an Open Door bull would tell you, well, great, you could actually go there. And I'm like, fantastic. What the fuck do I need Open Door for then? Like, why do I need this middleman to inject themselves in here? It doesn't make any sense. Like from a business standpoint, right? This is something that Zillow tried to do, right? This is basically like the Zillow model.
Work. They tried it. A lot of companies tried it.
A lot of companies have tried it. All of them have failed. And granted, that's not always going to be indicative of like, hey, this business model is broken. But it sure does paint a picture like that, at least for right now, that business model doesn't work. It's not valid. Right. And then one of the biggest signs to me that the management of the company had no idea like how to capitalize on the situation they were in is they were trading at $10 and they don't make any money, right? Like they're not profitable and they didn't dilute. Like you're talking about, we're going to pivot our business. We're going to expand, right? We're doing layoffs to save money. Like, why are you not offering? Why are you not diluting? This is the spot where you dilute and you raise money and you raise that cash floor, right? If you think that your business is overvalued by the market, then you offer and you take some of that money. Now the floor gets raised, right? Mm-hmm. So now instead of crashing down to 4, you crash down to 6. And that's better for the long-term shareholder health.
Yeah, they got a lot of excitement, I think, with the new CEO coming in, and I think that was part of it. I mean, so. Eric had a huge following. I think he started his hedge fund, so that's why he's been like more silent on Twitter lately. But I mean, his walk and talks are fantastic. Where he stops at Drake's house, he I think lives in the same neighborhood. It's in
Toronto, I think.
I got out of it. I was like, this story's just not playing out. I had friends in real estate tell me it doesn't work, and I was like, all right, these guys on the ground are saying this is not going to happen.
Well, it's funny because people were talking about like, oh, well, what if Open Door tokenizes a home? And I'm like, great. What does that change for the person trying to live in it? And think about like the people that are buying homes. Like generally, they're people that are in their 30s and 40s or older, right? like go try to explain to your parents the benefit of tokenizing their fucking house. Watch as your parents look at you with utter confusion, like, what are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. And they're right, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would, you know, it just, from the start, it literally made zero sense. So, you know, I guess to kind of like fast forward through all that. So we talk about this, and he's like, well, if you don't like it, like, why do you like what I did with it? And I said, because you saw a trade imbalance, you exploited it, and you fucked over a bunch of short sellers. And I just think that it's super funny. So anyways, on the back end of that spike, I'm shorting it. And, you know, that short played out really, really well.
No, it's been down. I mean, it peaked again in, was it November? Let's see. Before even September, it hit 1052.
Yeah, so this was like late
downwards.
This was like late
25,
late October of 2025 that I entered that short. Right.
You
so
crushed that one.
Then it had a little bit of a spike, but overall, and I say short, but it was a synthetic short, right? It was just buying puts on something that I don't own shares of. So, you know, they weren't like insurance in any way. It was literally just a way to have bearish exposure until January, which worked out beautifully.
So if you're bullish, you know, energy and the AI trade, we got some big earnings Wednesday. Tomorrow is ASML.
Big one.
Really monopoly on lithography machines. Every chip maker needs those. Do you think they crush it?
Yes, absolutely. Now, I will say there is a difference between crushing the earnings and being you know, being able to actually like launch from it. So my question would be, how much of this is currently priced in? Because if we're looking at this chart, let me try to pull this up real quick, see if I could share this with you.
Yeah, I'll add it to the stage.
1 second, share screen. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Okay, so, you know, similar to the way that, you know, we saw that, like JP Morgan had a really nice beat, and they started selling off a little bit, right? And not that I'm comparing the two businesses, obviously, right? But what I'm comparing is that principle. Like, how much of this revenue and growth was already priced in? Yeah. So we can see, like, if we go back to this earnings, they absolutely crush it, right? The revenue, you know, slight miss, but they're profitable. They have increased margins here, right? And what happens, right? So it pops up, and then it kind of, you know, I mean, it runs, and it just kind of lists lazily, right? Until eventually more buyers start stepping in as they see that the trade is going well. And then we could take a look at this one, right? Where there is a revenue beat and a huge earnings beat, and margins, you know, do well. And what happens? Well, the day prior to earnings, it sells off, and then great earnings come out, and it sells off even deeper, right? So my question is given this big run up that's occurred right here, right? This big run up, and now it's just kind of been chopping along with the indices up here. How much of this is actually priced in right now?
That's smart. The move is to wait a few weeks and then catch that next run up for the next earnings, it looks like.
Well, not only that, but what I would also say is, you know, when you have these like heavily traded, you know, these heavily traded stocks that have like some speculative movements on them, one of the best things that we can do is wait for the implied volatility to be crushed on the options chain. And when that IV crush happens and all of these contracts expire worthless, the ones that are left for the future get a lot cheaper. You could get like a 30 to 50% discount on a lot of these calls. So if this is something that you wanted to trade options on, right, then, you know, that's a great time to do it.
That's a huge point that I think a lot of retailers miss, because there's been so many times where, you know, I remember, and I didn't trade it because they were a client of mine, but I remember Estee Lauder. I knew that they missed.
I love Estee Lauder.
Interesting. So they their websites all went down on I think it was Valentine's Day or one of the biggest days. And I was too close to them, and I knew that, so I couldn't trade it. I didn't want to like have anything close to insider trading there.
Right.
But I was like, they're going to get crushed on this earnings here because they missed one of their biggest days. It was the website went down for several hours during I think it was Valentine's Day, let's call it. And in my head, I was like, damn, I wish I could trade options on this on upside. And even though they missed big on the earnings, it was right. They missed big on the earnings, but then the stock flew, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, even when you know, you don't know, And so that I think the same kind of case, the story came up because of it's
Absolutely.
obvious that they should beat earnings, but the stock price may not reflect that necessarily.
Absolutely. And again, right, it's a matter of like, number one, is it priced in? Number two, who is exposed on what side of the trade, right? If somebody has sold a bunch of calls, then they are going to do everything in their power, right? If they are going to be on the hook to have to deliver a bunch of shares at, say, 1750, they're going to do everything in their power to push this thing down under 1750 to make sure that they don't have to fulfill their end of the obligations, right? Like it's just kind of the way that it works. And it's funny because I have, I know a lot of people, and I am fond of doing this in some situations, but there are a lot of people that like to just take a straddle on every earnings, right? And while sometimes that does really make sense to straddle a company on earnings, oftentimes it also just doesn't, right? It just doesn't, because if you are going into an earnings call and you are long volatility, the thing that you really need more than anything is you need for something unexpected to happen. Right. If it is if whatever the result is in bounds, like within the bounds of expectations, then generally that implied volatility is going to be crushed. Even if they beat it, if that was already priced in, then the IV is just going to drain away. Where the IV really, really spikes is if they come out and they're like, hey, our margins are down 50%. We just lost a bunch of money this quarter, right? IV is going to explode on the downside.
You see that too on the earnings calls. It's like something will go down crazy, then it will pop up like as people are talking, and so you see that. The other big one is on Thursday. Well, we got two big ones, right? So we got Taiwan Semiconductor. That's going to be huge for AI, because if their numbers are, CapEx guide is hot, entire semis rebounds going to,
it's going to explode. It's likely exploding from there. Yeah, agreed. That would be
reports. Pull up TSM too. See if it's the same kind of chart here that we're seeing. If people are selling.
Yeah, so they generally tend to move pretty similarly, just because they're kind of in the same industry, right? So you can see the same thing, right? It rose with the indices, literally around the same time, right? This is where we had the first kind of draft of the memorandum of understanding to have a ceasefire. The entire market popped up. We went on this crazy historic bull run. This one had a little bit more volatility to it, but it did match those gains. And then, for the last month and a half, it's just been chopping along with NASDAQ. So it's right in line with it. And I think that it's going to continue to be. However, I will say that, 2 days from now, should TSM beat earnings in a really big way and guide forward and say, hey, this AI infrastructure trade, right? All of the hardware, it's seeing unprecedented demand, and we see that it is continuing to push forward and forward and forward and forward. Well, then this can actually lift the rest of hardware up.
Yeah. I think it's going to, I mean, I don't know if you listen to the All In podcast, and again, I think they all have private investments in Anthropic, but they were like saying, holy shit, like Anthropic's going to go from 100 billion, by the end of the year to 300 billion in like 200, in 2 years. They were talking about it's going to like 4x from here, basically, and the demand is just insane. But I always take it as a grain of salt because, I know that they have obviously investments in there.
Now, I will say that I think that when Anthropic IPOs, that it is going to do so at a huge premium. But I bet that if you bought that IPO or bought the dip, right? Normally with IPOs, right? They rip up so that way they can attract a bunch of liquidity. They get retail nice and excited. And then once, they run out of buy side liquidity, they just dump literally like the underwriters and the early investors, right? They just dump everything into that liquidity that they generate into that hype. We see it time and time again, right? So I think that's probably what that's going to look like, similar to SpaceX, similar to, the Webull, D-SPAC, Newsmax. I mean, pick one, dude. It happens all the time.
Meta was a big one too. But then it came right back up.
Absolutely. And, there are certainly exceptions, right? Like ARM, for instance. ARM was successful right out of the gate with the IPO, and they didn't have that big rug pull, right? Because the early investors and the underwriters believed in the business and they stayed invested. They didn't just dump at the first chance that they got. I think with Anthropic that there's been quite a bit of a wait. And I think that these guys are going to be looking for the exit liquidity. But with all that being said, I think that if you bought Anthropic and held it for, say, 5 years, I think you're going to do great, man. Like, I think that tripling in maybe 5 years is possible. Tripling in a year, I don't know about that one, man. I mean, you're talking about consuming the entire market share. Like, I don't know.
Where does the money come from too? Is everyone going to sell out of everything else to go in there? Like,
well,
it is one of the biggest names, I think.
Well, we saw that happen with SpaceX, where it was trading, like multiples of the float every day, right at the beginning.
Chart real quick.
The SpaceX chart? Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull that up for you. So we saw that happen in the very beginnings of SpaceX.
No. Right?
This is the daily chart. So we did in fact see that happen. Now, granted, only like 4.7% of the company was publicly tradable here. I think now there's a little bit more, right? Like the friends and family section. They were able to start
along the route. I tweeted it out a while ago, but there's dates where that people can sell. And if you've been in it for years, like
you want to get the fuck out. You want to make your money, bro. Yeah, absolutely.
But the one thing I always zig when I zag, or when the market zags, basically, because right before it IPO'd, all the news flow was that it was overvalued, right? And so then it ripped right off the gates. Then all the news flow was saying that it is maybe like the best company ever, and then you see the drop, right? So kind of go opposite of whatever the news says, because they tend to get paid by hedge funds to write out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've seen court cases over and over again with that. I mean, not to point any fingers, but look at Andrew Left, right? Look at Andrew Left. That's a great example of somebody who was being paid by Hindenburg to write these hit pieces. You can look at a lot of like the small time firms, right? Like Anson Funds is another one that's kind of notorious for this.
Waters.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So when you see the news saying one thing, it's just not always true. And I hate to be like, again, I'm not trying to put on the tinfoil hat and be conspiratorial, but
it's good to be aware.
Often you see Jim Cramer mentioning something when, saying, oh, you need to buy, when he and his buddies need to exit, right? Yeah. Like that's when they're telling you to buy. Why? So they can sell it to you. They need someone to buy it from them.
Look at this. 228% autopilot. Our friend Chris over there, which is one of the coolest companies. Inverse Kramer is up 225% all time. So if you pick the opposite of Kramer's telling you, I always thought he was like either the homie to people and like trying to wink at people and be like, all right, do the opposite of what I'm saying, because that's insane. It's just complete opposite happens on that.
I think that it is very telling to what big money often thinks of your average retail investor and retail trader. Yeah. Is that we're dumb and we're blind and we're just going to listen to whatever they say. But for the people that have kind of been around the block a few times, they know that Well, they know the game, right? Because at the end of the day, have you ever read the book Manufactured Consent by Noam Chomsky?
No, but I do know Noam Chomsky.
I know that it's weird to invoke Noam Chomsky and his words in a podcast about trading and investing. But
just in yesterday's podcast, we started getting into like humanity and like it was pretty wild. But bring it up. This is a holistic podcast.
So Noam Chomsky in Manufactured Consent, he was talking about the role that news and that these news corporations play in our lives. And, he made the point that essentially when it comes to the news is not the product. The news is the draw. The product is our attention. It's our eyeballs, because who pays the bills? It's the advertisers.
Yeah.
So if the advertisers are the customer that pays the bills, that pays these networks, then we must be the product, because our attention is what they are selling. And it's very intuitive, right? It's very intuitive. It's very straightforward and easy to grasp, I think. So, with that being said, I kind of, just came to this conclusion that, they are going to tell you what is going to make you feel emotions. They're going to evoke emotions. They're going to tell you things that make you feel, sensationalist. It's not so much about communicating the facts as it is about stoking your emotions and getting you to come back, whether that's because of fear, whether that's because you need to know this and you can get ahead by listening to Fox or CNN or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Like it is all with the end goal in mind of selling your attention and your eyeballs to advertisers.
So I was looking at this because during COVID, it felt like everything was sponsored by Pfizer, and they spent that was in 2014. So this is an old article, but it was just crazy, like how much. And then you look at it and you see why they're all talking about Pfizer, and you got to look beyond the curtain sometimes.
Absolutely, and we could see the same thing happening with like large institutions, right? So why would it be any different? With let's say, maybe a large hedge fund or just large funds in general, where they need to exit and they can't find any exit liquidity. They need to sell 4.5% of this company, right? That they've been passively holding for 20 years. And, they think the story has changed or whatever the case is, they need liquidity. So they ring up old Jim Cramer and they're like, Jimmy,
buy.
Yeah, right. Tell these guys to buy. Like, we got to get the fuck out, man. Tell them to buy. We don't want to crash the price on ourselves as we exit.
Last one I want to touch on is Netflix. Netflix is the opposite, where I feel like all the news flow has been pretty negative. Right now it's 19x. I was just pulling up this tweet here talking about some of the cheap stocks right now. I think Netflix is, they've had a lot of negative news flow. I think they go up on the earnings, but I would love your take on that.
So it's tough, man. It's tough because I think that, and this is one that I've really been struggling with, right? Because I've traded it up, I've traded it down, and it's at this point now where, on paper, it seems like it would be underpriced. But, I think that I have a little bit of skepticism around it just because. So Netflix has a dominant market share. Okay. They have a dominant market share. Most of the people that would be Netflix customers, I think, are Netflix customers, right? They're not seeing a big expansion.
Well, a lot of their expansion came from cutting the cord because everyone was sharing their Netflix account.
Absolutely.
And that is something that's been, they kind of did it what I noticed too, because for a while, everyone's like, oh, they had to buy their own Netflix. And I was still on my wife's dad's Netflix. And so I noticed that they're chopping people off slowly but surely to not like have one big spike up. The thing I do like about Netflix is I was saying this to Joey, with AI, and we haven't seen it quite yet because I did research on it. They haven't seen huge cost reductions, but with AI, they're spending tons of money on content, and over time, that content's going to get a lot cheaper for them.
Agreed. Now, let me also just kind of push back on that a little bit, right?
No.
Because what we are also seeing is that we are seeing that they have not had as many big hit shows as they did a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what has Netflix released that is to the tier of Ozark? How about something that is comparable to Stranger Things, right? These big hits that keep people coming back and back and back and spending time watching more than one season. They really
the Korea one. That was a big one. That was probably the last big one.
Oh God, what was that one called? Squid Game?
Squid Games. Yeah.
But I mean, again, that was a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like from Eddie Murphy's Raw, right? The old Raw stand-up. What have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel.
The other thing that never came into fruition, or I haven't really seen a ton of news on it. I was excited about their gaming, the turning into rental of games. They like, that was big news, but that never I don't know anyone that plays it.
I think it's tough because, think about who you're competing against there. I mean, even Microsoft through Xbox, number one, you have to compete with the PC gamers. Yeah. Right. With PC Master Race Gaming, sorry, not sorry, PlayStation and Xbox fans, you're just wrong. You have the subpar console, but you're competing with Valve. Like, you are competing against Steam. That is one hell of a competition to try to take up. Like, you are competing against somebody that has been ingrained in this space, for the last 15 years. Like, actually a little bit more than 15 years at this point. You're probably getting close to 20, because they took all of the money that they made off of Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, and they created literally a platform where they get to keep a good chunk of the profits, and developers can just list their games there, right?
I mean, they're going into live TV too. They've been doing a lot of sporting events.
That's good. That's good. So I will say that I do like that move, and I think that that's a really good way to confront the last thing that cable really does well, right? Is that live sporting events. But we see that Netflix is also just not the only one, right? Paramount has been doing it with UFC, right? So these things are not happening just in Netflix. It's not like a special boon specific to Netflix. It's kind of just happening and becoming the industry standard, right? As this last, again, the last bastion of cable moves over.
I guess they're trying to become almost like the one-stop shop, where I cut YouTube TV for a while, and then I had to go back because I needed more live sports. And I'm just one person that watches sports basically on TV. I don't really watch too many shows, but I did like how Netflix, they do a cool job of making it for boxing, telling that story and getting into I don't know, for some reason, with sporting events, the pre-game is so exciting, to talk
absolutely,
everything that goes into it, the emotions, and watching, HBO does a good job with the pre-NFL games. But yeah, Netflix, I haven't touched it. I'm not trading it, but
what I want to see, because it's funny, we've been talking about this one a lot in the NASDAQ Discord, right? In the Discord that I run. We've been discussing this a lot, and there's been a lot of debate about it, right? Because on one hand, I have been a Netflix customer for dude, I don't even know. When they came out as a teenager, when I was a teenager, I remember getting those discs in the mail, right?
When would you stop? So they can just keep raising $1, raising $1, raising $2.
I'm gonna just I'll stay a customer.
Yeah. So that's something that finding new customers. Going back to what you said about the Netflix customers are there. There's something to be said that they can raise it $5 and you'll probably not come off.
Correct.
And that's a ton of new revenue.
And it's funny because when they raised it by $2 a month, dude, you saw an endless amount of whining and crying online.
But
and
probably.
and then they didn't unsubscribe. They
Right.
stayed. You saw everyone get upset because it's like, oh, you can't share it with your whole family anymore. So what did they do? They went and opened their own. Everyone forgot about it. No one's talking about that anymore. That happened like 3 years ago. Like it wasn't even that far in the past. So
3 years.
it
felt like it was last year.
right, dude. I know time just flies, man. But I think that realistically, the issue that maybe I have with Netflix, and maybe I'm wrong, right? We're gonna look at the earnings here pretty soon and see. But I think that one of the only paths forward to having better margins, aside from having AI do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to production, content production, is going to be raising those subscription rates. So and they have to do it slowly enough to not piss people off, right? Like if you said, if they raised it $5 at once, you actually might get some cancellations. But if you do it at $1 or $2, they're gonna bitch, right? They're gonna moan. Social media, they're all gonna be tagging it on Instagram and Netflix, how could you? I've been a loyal customer.
That brings up another point that I'm thinking about too, because in one way the AI is exciting, and there's talking about, like, I don't know if you ever read like Animorphs, whereas like choose your own adventure.
A long time ago, yes.
Yeah. It's been a lot. I like the just being able to flip the pages and watch.
Oh, dude, I used to love those.
But to that point, I think a lot of what makes these shows exciting is everyone's talking about the same, what happened at the end of this show, or like,
absolutely.
and if everything gets customized, I wonder if that conversation extends as much, because my show when I'm watching will be different than your show. So I wonder if they cannibalize themselves with that.
So it's funny because I remember, did you ever watch Black Mirror?
Yes.
Okay, so Black Mirror, great series, right? Very dystopian. It's an anthology, right? Every episode's different. There's some of them that are very, very memorable, and then they came out with like the Black Mirror movie, and the Black Mirror movie was very much like that, right? Where they basically had it so you could choose different pathways through it, and people didn't talk about it nearly as much.
Yeah.
People didn't talk about it nearly as much, because I think that if you are looking for something where you get that control over the narrative, you'll just play a video game. Like, you're not going to watch a movie for that. You're watching a movie to hear a story, right?
You lose the community
and element. You lose the community.
That's the thing that's everyone's trying to get to. Even
absolutely,
with the podcast, building a community, your Discord, building a community. That's like the last semblance of real life we have.
Absolutely.
And in an ironic way, it would disappear.
It does. And it's, if everyone is kind of seeing the same thing, maybe they can take different things away from it, but at the end of the day, they can have a conversation about that, right?
Yeah.
Look at some of the biggest hits that have come out, in the last decade or so. Like Game of Thrones, I think, is a wonderful example. I remember when that was live, and even now with House of the Dragon being live on HBO, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that new season, brother, it's fantastic.
Good.
It's good. Yeah, it's very good.
I never got into dragon stuff, but
oh, brother, Game of Thrones is different, man. Okay.
I watched one episode, and I thought it was like very well put together.
It's a slow burn. It gets a little bit more exciting like 2 or 3 episodes in. There's a lot of explanation right in the beginning. Anyways, so I remember when Game of Thrones was coming out with new episodes, and every week on Monday, right, everyone would be super excited. They get into work and it's like, okay, we got to talk about the new Game of Thrones episode. Like, oh, but what about when he did this? And what about that? And you don't get that if you're choosing your own adventure. Right.
No, it's an interesting point, because that was exciting. I mean, it is kind of an exciting concept, but you do lose that whole community element to it, and the extension of the conversation on social media.
Absolutely. And one of the best ways for a show to become viral and become universally loved is by people just talking about it, right? Think about every show that's done really well, like The Wire, right? Anyone that's watched The Wire, like, I love The Wire. I could talk about The Wire all day, dude. I won't shut up about it. Sopranos, right? Some of the most iconic things.
Amit's saying the same thing. Cheapest has been in years. Every time I think about buying, I remember no hit shows leading to massive growth. They tried to buy Warner Brothers, Roku, now Lion, which makes me think they're struggling to create content. Yeah, I mean that is a
it's
good
literally echoing my thoughts right there.
Yeah.
Like it's echoing them entirely. So, you know, again, like I love Netflix, right? As a customer, as a shareholder, I don't know that I like it here. Like I find it difficult to justify buying Netflix with the aggressive growth premium attached at this price, rather than just saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to go buy Microsoft, which is trading at a severe discount, right?
Another thing to think about too is I don't have facts to back this thought, but for years Netflix would overpay and they would pay developers a ton of money.
Absolutely.
And I wonder if some of those developers are going to AI, you know, as well, and if they're losing a lot of their strongest developers to this big money in Anthropic and elsewhere.
I think that there's probably a pretty valid point to that. I mean, largely their app across all platforms, like, you know, whether you're doing it on your Apple TV, whether it's integrated into your TV, you know, you're using an Xbox or a PlayStation, like it works really well. So I don't think that there's really even much work that needs to be done. I mean, they have cut their SG&A quite a bit. But again, you know, these guys are priced at a premium that's you know, justifying massive growth, and I think that that's the biggest hurdle for me.
Growth slows down.
It's not even so much like, you know, potentially losing developers. It's not even so much the content, which again, I mean, isn't great. Like their original content hasn't been great lately. But they do have a bunch of really good stuff. Like you can go on there and watch, you know, I think Seinfeld's on there, right? I love Seinfeld. I watch it all the time. So there are reasons to go on to Netflix, but is there a strong enough case for people who are not active members to go and sign up? And I don't know that that's the case. Like I think they're going to struggle with user acquisition. Not so much user retention, but user acquisition.
Yeah, getting the new ones.
And we need both in order to justify the current premium. Despite, like, you know, it being 21% down year to date, it's still trading at a hefty premium. I mean, it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's almost like their actions are out of desperation right now.
Yeah, a little bit. And, you know, trust me, I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong, because that would mean that I can learn and I can examine, you know, where was I wrong, and, you know, potentially long Netflix. But it's interesting to kind of see what has happened over the last few months since they you know, backed out of that Warner Brothers deal, which I thought was a really good decision to back out of it, because, you know, it didn't make sense really to spend all of your money on that when you could just try to replicate it in-house, right? I mean, obviously you get some really good IP from Warner Brothers, but you could easily make something comparable, right? Or something that people enjoy just as much. It's just, for me, it's entirely around new user acquisition is the big thing.
So I'm looking at this right now. Netflix, 325 million paid members towards a long ambition of 1 billion users. They reach about 45% of broadband households, capture only about 5% of the global TV. So they could expand to other countries. In Asia Pacific, revenues grew 20% year on year. So, I mean, they could conquer more of the world, I think is where they're going to find their new.
Agreed. But then what I would push back on is, think about how much more expensive it's going to be creating content for the Germans and also the French and also the Italians, right? So not only do they like different things socially, like I think that we can agree that a Japanese game show is very different from a game show here in the US, right? And as is, you know, their TV, right? Like the shows that they tend to like are very different, right? We're two different cultures. So I think that when we're venturing into that, that now you're talking about spending a whole lot on production for
CapEx.
products for new markets that isn't going to translate into your core audience. And I struggle a little bit with that, right? It's just
my whole thesis was the negative news flow. Like
no, absolutely, absolutely.
No, it's good to think about all this stuff, though. I mean, you bring up good points.
We've had an interesting conversation around Netflix for sure, right?
Anyways, let's wrap
struggling
up. Anything else on your mind that you're pounding the table on that no one's thinking about right now, or anything else you're looking forward to for this week or beyond?
Microsoft is trading at a deep discount. So I think it is a good idea to, again, me personally, to buy Microsoft and literally plan on holding it for the next decade or longer.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a deep discount. And I think that when we start to see, like next week, a lot of the Mag 7 reports, earnings, I think that when we see those earnings reports, it's going to be really funny looking back a few weeks and seeing all this doom and gloom around AI. Like, if you don't think that AI is going to change the world, I think that you just haven't been paying attention. Right.
I'm trying to find my tweet on Microsoft. It was one of my few banger tweets. I can't find it now. It was here it is, from 2021. Does anyone ever want to just go all for 5 years? brother,
that is such a beautiful tweet. I love that. This guy said overrated tweet. It's not overrated. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know this person. I don't know who that is. But yes, I mean, it is one of those stocks that like goes kind of it like will chill for a few years and then it just rips, right? And we're kind of getting to that point again, where you can go to sleep. It's a beach stock.
Absolutely.
So
it's funny that people are reading so much into Xbox and they're like, oh well, Xbox is struggling, Microsoft must be struggling. I'm like, dude, it's like 4% of their business. Like, chill out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're closing gaming studios. Yeah, they're burning.
I think everyone has focused on like their AI, like Copilot. Not a lot of people are getting as much love as like the other ones out there.
I mean, Copilot sucks. I'll be the first to say it, right? Copilot sucks, but at the end of the day, the computers that we're talking on, I mean, I'm assuming you're not on a Mac, right? No. So you're not using Linux, I would assume, right? You're not developing anything. So you're probably on Windows, and so am I, and so are 90% of the people that are watching, right? So not only are we,
I think a lot of people have Apples, but
I don't know, maybe
the workplace.
But and Azure, right? Microsoft Azure is
that's growing,
like the hugest growth story that they have. And then we can't discount Microsoft Office.
They're so just embedded into everything.
Literally, they're just so integrated, you can't get rid of them. It's like cockroaches in your house, right? Once you have that infestation, it's really hard to get rid of them.
Slack story, right? So Slack was like one of the hottest companies, and I think Salesforce bought them, right?
Yeah.
But then Salesforce bought them. Slack got out really nicely because Salesforce bought them, and then Microsoft was like, "Hey, we're on everyone's computer. We're gonna just give Teams away for free," and then that was the Slack.
Crushed it.
So there is something when you have a monopoly, basically on all the workplace computers.
It's funny. I guess one last closing thought, and it's related to Microsoft, and it's related to a lot of kind of like what we've been talking about, is one of the biggest things that people don't know is that Microsoft, Bill Gates in particular, actually helped bail Apple out when they were facing bankruptcy.
Yeah, I knew that story.
And the reason that he did it was not because he was altruistic, and it's not because he felt bad about stealing the idea for the mouse from Steve Jobs. I mean, it had nothing to do with it. But the second that Apple went under, Microsoft would have been a monopoly. So in order to be able to keep the majority of the market share, they needed to keep the company with the minority market share alive, or else they were going to come in, the government would come in and break them up forcibly. So, it was a very smart business move to keep your competition alive, simply for the reason that, you don't want to be,
you don't want to get too big,
be considered a monopoly, right? Then you're asking for government intervention, and that can kill a business. So I think that Microsoft has been well run, and I think it's well run now. I agree with that tweet today. I would retweet that today if I had X, right?
Got to get you on X, man.
I know, man. But buy it. Go to sleep for 5 years.
This is a free advertisement for StockTwits, though. Our friends over at StockTwits.
Absolutely,
right. You got to follow Father of Trades on StockTwits. We'll slowly get you over to Twitter here as well.
It'll happen, man. It'll happen one day. It'll happen one day when I don't forget.
you got those 15,000 followers or whatever, 16,000 in your chat.
I think we're closing in on 18,000 pretty quick in the Discord.
Where do people find that? I'll show it for you.
It is
your Discord.
Discord.gg/NQQ. We have a vanity link. So we're very proud of our vanity link. Yeah. That's where you can find me, and I'm gonna have to get you in too, man. We were talking.
I need to get in now that I'm back at my desk with my laptop. I was
you were a little MIA. I know.
Lake house, and I'm still like getting back into the market. So today and yesterday, I kind of sucked and just researching as quickly as I could here. But now that I'm home, I'm getting my shit back together. So
absolutely,
we're
gonna thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me again.
Every week, dude. We'll keep having you as long as you want to keep coming.
Of course.
And in about 25 minutes, I'm gonna eat a quick lunch and I'll come back. We got Problem Sniper coming on, so he's awesome.
Very excited. I'll definitely be there for that.
So I'll play some music, and if you guys want to stick around, otherwise come back at 2:30 Eastern. I'm in Minnesota, 1:30 Central, 11:30 Pacific. I'll get the times right. But Father of Trades, great episode.
Thank you, brother.
We'll be back next Tuesday.
Yep. See you then.
See you, buddy.
See you guys.
The story goes the Gilded Age was printed on the manifest. A floating palace, maiden voyage, Morgan's grandest canvas yet. Asked the Guggenheim and trace a border when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now JP begged his pardon at the dock, his help was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing.
But I only deal in ledgers, so I read you what's undoubted. 20 months from icy water to the printer. Go about it.
6 men on a midnight rail car. First names only, curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis, and the dynasties that built the dawn. 9 days on an island, wrote the rules for every dollar after. And your great-grandfather's paycheck was the first line of the chapter.
Oh, they can print it, but they can't print that.
No, they can't.
Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth,
the daily stack.
where you learn the game,
the daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
Now listen, 1933, they came for grandma's wedding ring. A signature, no soldiers made the holding go to felony. Paid you 20, price of 35. Before the ink was drying, that's a third of every savings account gone without them trying. Then your grandfather worked one job and bought a house and fed a family. One income, one pension, one handshake, that's the anatomy. To Nixon on a Sunday, cut the anchor, called it temporary. 55 years floating in the worst in the dictionary. Every war went on the credit card, a trillion in the desert. No buying drives and no bake sales, that you're purchasing dismembered. You've been running on a treadmill that they tilt a little steeper. Work is real, but money's fiction, and the fiction's getting cheaper.
They can print it, but they can't print that.
No, they can't.
Every dollar's getting thinner.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another, watch it flying. 40 cents of every dollar born while businesses were dying. Then they blamed your empty grocery cart on weather and on shipping. Called inflation transitory while your steak dinner went missing. The money broke before you did nothing wrong. Who believe her? You were told to work and save, and they debased it with a fever. 37 trillion owing interest, eating up the table. Every empire prince is ending, that's the oldest human fable. So block zero hitting January, answer to a century. Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched in code and effigy. They took the gold with paper, but this covenant won't fold. 21 million fixed forever, that's the new immortal goal.
They came for the gold with a signature. They'll come for the paper too. But some things can't be confiscated. And baby, I'm saving mine for you.
So this is for the single mother watching groceries doubling, and the young man priced from housing while the pundits call it grumbling. It's not your fault, it's the designer ledgers rigged involved it. But there's an exit door in cyberspace, they never can assault it. They had 6 men in the train car, we got nodes in every nation. From the blinds to the having, this is peaceful confiscation. Proof salvation, it's the money, fix the world, I say it till I'm breathless. 12:30 every week, they come to stack the truth relentless.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth, the daily stack. Where you learn the game, the daily stack. 12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack. I'll be sitting on the stack.
April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money. Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim streets aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. Baker's pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledgers, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men, all them in that real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller wedding turned proximity diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island, wrote the arithmetic of dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth,
The daily stack,
where you learn the game.
daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
So the engine started humming, watch a century capitulate. In 33 they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 6102 a decade in the silver, what you holding? Paid you 20, priced at 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a tab, the printing press would underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it Trugan on the ticket. No bond driving, no bake sales, just dilution. So specific, come on, eat the whole casino nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with gold deposits called the ashes saving. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days. March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, Roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another. Keep it moving, stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving them two rows like it was raptured. 40 points in two rotations, and they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the world retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game, and the debt cost 37 trillion. Interest eats the budget. Now the only buyer left is math. The math is never fudge it. So block zero was the answer to 100 years of Draken. Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate, but the 21 million is a covenant no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun, but you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins, I'm done.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, a dollar in a costume, programmable and traceable, a leash inside your wallet's living room. Tether buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck rides on the app, now they can freeze it. That they issue, they can flag it, they can fence it. Money with enough switches of yours, it's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one they cannot print and cannot be commissioned. From the blinds to the habit, not connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car.
I got candlesticks and cameras.
12:30 every weekday,
Teaching history in stanzas. They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
the daily stack,
Where you learn the game?
the daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
The daily stack. They built the printer and they put it in your pocket. One goes to the exit.
Tick, 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 tick.
Next block. April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money. Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim and Straits aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. Baker's pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledgers, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men on a midnight real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller wedding turned proximity diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island wrote the arithmetic dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The daily stack,
Where you learn the game?
daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
So the engine started humming, watch a century capitulating. 33 they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 6102 a decade in the silver, what you holding? Page 20, price to 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a tablet print and press would underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it, Trugan on the ticket. No bond driving, no bake sales, just dilution, so specific. Come on, the whole casino nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with Joe the pot, it's called the Ashes Saving. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days.
March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another. Keep it moving, stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving them two rows like it was raptured. 40 points in 2 rotations, and they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the world retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game. And the deck cost 37 trillion, interest east the budget. Now the only buyer left is math, the math is never fudged. So block zero was the answer to 100 years of drinking. Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate, but the 21 million is a covenant no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun, but you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins on a dime.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, a dollar in a costume, programmable and traceable, a leash inside your wallet's living room. Tether buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck rides on the app, now they can freeze it. That they issue, they can flag it, they can fence it. Money with an all switches of yours, it's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one that cannot break and cannot be permission. From the dub lines to the having not connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car.
I got candlesticks and cameras.
12:30 every weekday,
Teaching history in stanzas. They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth,
the daily stack,
where you learn the game,
the daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
The daily stack. They built the printer, and they put it in your pocket. One goes to the exit. Next block.
April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printer never sleeps. This is the story of the money.
Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim Straits aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now JP begged his pardon at the dock as health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledgers, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men on a midnight real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller wedding turned proximity diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island wrote the arithmetic of dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth,
The daily stack,
where you learn the game.
daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
So the engine started humming, watch a century capitulate. In 33 they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 6102 a decade in the silver, what you holding? Page 20, price to 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a tab to print and press with underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it, Hugan on the ticket. No buying, driving, no bake sales, just dilution, so specific. Come on, the whole casino nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with Joe the pot, it's called the ashes haven. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days.
March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another, keep it moving. Stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving. Them 2 rows like it was raptured, 40 points in 2 rotations. Then they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the world retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game. And the debt cost 37 trillion, interest eats the budget. Now the only buyer left is math, the math is never fudge it. So block 0 was the answer to 100 years of drinking. Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate. But the 21 million is a covenant no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun. But you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins on a dime.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, a dollar in a costume, programmable and traceable. A leash inside your wallet's living room. Tether buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck binds on the app, now they can freeze it. Let the issue, they can flag it, they can fence it. Money within our switches of yours, it's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one that cannot print and cannot be commissioned. From the blinds to the habit, not connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car.
I got candlesticks and cameras.
12:30 every weekday,
Teaching history in stanzas. They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
the daily stack,
Where you learn the game?
the daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
The daily stack. They built the printer, and they put it in your pocket. One goes to the exit.
Tick, 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 tick.
Next block.
April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money.
Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim and Straits aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. Baker's pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the The story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest.
A floating palace, maiden voyage, Morgan's grandest canvas yet. Asked the Guggenheim and trace aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Yeah. Now JP begged his pardon at the dock, his help was ailing. So the old world owed his fortunes, met the water while the band was playing. Yeah.
But I only deal in ledgers, so I read you what's undoubted. 20 months from icy water to the printer. Go about it.
6 men on a midnight rail car. First names only curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis, and the dynasties that built the dawn. 9 days on an island, wrote the rules for every dollar after. And your great-grandfather's paycheck was the first line of the chapter.
Oh, they can print it, but they can't print that.
No, they can't.
Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth, the daily stack. Where you learn the game, the daily stack. 12:30 on the dot and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
Now listen, 1933, they came for grandma's wedding ring. A signature, no soldiers made the holding go to felony. Paid you 20, price at 35. Before the ink was drying, that's a third of every savings account gone without them trying. Then your grandfather worked one job and bought a house and fed a family. One income, one pension, one handshake, that's the anatomy. To Nixon on a Sunday, cut the anchor, called it temporary. 55 years floating in the worst still in the dictionary. Every war went on the credit card, a trillion in the desert. No buying drives and no bake sales that you're purchasing. Dismembered, you've been running on a treadmill that they tilt a little steeper. Work is real, but money's fiction, and the fiction's getting cheaper.
They can print it, but they can't print that.
No, they can't.
Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth, the daily stack. Where you learn the game, the daily stack. 12:30 on the dot and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another, watch it flying. 40 cents of every dollar born while businesses were dying. Then they blamed your empty grocery cart on weather and on shipping. Called inflation transitory while your steak dinner went missing. The money broke before you did nothing wrong. Who believe her? You were told to work and save and they debased it with a fever. 37 trillion owing interest eating up the table. Every empire prince is ending, that's the oldest human fable. So block zero hitting January, answer to a century. Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched in code and effigy. They took the gold with paper, but this covenant won't fold. 21 million fixed forever, that's the new immortal goal.
They came for the gold with a signature. They'll come for the paper too. But some things can't be confiscated. And baby, I'm saving mine for you.
So this is for the single mother watching groceries doubling, and the young man priced from housing while the pundits call it grumbling. It's not your fault, it's the designer ledgers rigged and vaulted. But there's an exit door in cyberspace, they never can assault it. They had 6 men in the train car, we got nodes in every nation. From the blinds to the having, this is peaceful confiscation. Prove salvation, fix the money, fix the world, I say it till I'm breathless. 12:30 every week, they come to stack the truth relentless.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth, the daily stack. Where you learn the game, the daily stack. 12:30 on the dot and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack. I'll be sitting on the stack.
Let's go. We got to pull Sniper's photo off and bring the real Sniper on. Let me do that real quick. One day I'll get this down. Sniper. I don't know if he's still there. There we go.
Hey, I'm right.
I need a full-time producer. If someone's listening that wants to be a producer, taking DMs. How are we doing today, man?
Oh, good. I mean, like it's a lot of consolidation in the market right now. I don't know what the market is waiting for, but we definitely have a breakout on the chart and, a lot of good looking stuff out there.
They were waiting for you to come on the Daily Stack. And let me change this to your name because we just had Father of Trades on, and now we have at Problem Sniper. Yeah, the big news of the day, obviously the CPI print. We saw IBM get absolutely demolished, to say the least. What stocks are you looking at today? We didn't do our normal text to say what stocks do you want to touch on today, but would love to hear how you're seeing like the market play out, because I know I was watching early in the morning before I get on the podcast, and I actually don't know what's going on because I'm on these podcasts. So we bring on these beautiful guests that can help us out. But yeah, what's going on midday? How are we looking?
Oh, well, let me start sharing my screen. I'll talk about SPY, and then we can talk about individual stocks that I'm looking out for as well.
And yeah, for those in the audience, Nathan Hansen is hyped. Let's see if other people are getting hyped. But yeah, feel free to share some tickers. We'll try to get to a few of them here at the end as a pod of the people. So let's get our faces off and look at the SPY while we're taking a look.
So we are going to Wednesday. Obviously, it's looking 3 days of the week. We definitely broke out on Friday, had a nice move. This is Tuesday. We definitely broke out on Thursday, had a nice move on Friday, closed really strong, gap down, retested that 9 EMA on the daily. This was something that I was talking about a couple of weeks back also, where we get the 9 and 20 cross, the 9 becomes very strong. And then, the bulls have been like, this is a little shenanigan that we had, but then the bulls have been holding that 9 EMA very, very strong. And also that coincides with the daily breakout trend line, which is holding really well. Honestly, right now, so one thing that you want to look for is when there's so much bearish news that's going on with Iran news, and there's a lot of ambiguity around the rate hikes, and then there is the oil ripping up higher and things like that. The market has not fallen off, which to me indicates there is underlying strength that the market is building over time. And when you see a breakout trend line holding like this, retesting, holding, and the 9 EMA nicely supporting the bulls, this is where I tend to lean more bullish than bearish in the short term of sense too. So when you look at a double inside day, let me remove this trend line here. You see this candle here on Friday. You had an inside candle on Monday, and then you have an inside candle again on Tuesday, which basically to me is compression. When compressions like these happen, there is usually a very big move. It can happen on either direction. I'm not going to definitely pinpoint and say, oh, you know what, we are going to absolutely rip higher. But then I want to say a setup like this definitely rips 8 out of 10 times higher, because you see all these underlying technicals lining up, where you are seeing the 9 EMA holding, you're seeing the trend line holding, you're seeing negative news not impacting the market as much. Like you saw Bahrain or Kuwait getting hit by Iranian missiles, and some news outlets portraying that they were launched on there to hit the American targets. But market really did not sway bearish today as well. You had Trump, who was very bearish yesterday, but then today the CPI print came in, which was strong, which was a good indicator headline for rate cuts coming through. Trump has been talking about making things much more cheaper, especially the oil going to the midterms. He's also talking about a trade deal that they have with Japan now, which is going on with a multi-billion-dollar investment in America from Japan. There's quite a bit of bullish news also baking in slowly. And with the market holding like this, I think 8 out of 10 times it will rip higher to new all-time highs in the next 4 to 5 trading sessions.
So yeah, and the one thing I don't know if we touched on this last time, the Trump accounts. That's a lot of money getting injected in the system. It's kind of I joke that it's like the silent pump. Yep. Because people, they have to invest in. I think it's that SPY they're invested in, right? And then that's $5,000 every single year that other people can put in. And then they're talking about like adult Trump accounts too. Like, why stop there? And so like, I would have wanted to see even more bullish action here with some of this money injecting. Maybe some of it's being held off. I know it's like in the process of taking place, but that's exciting too. And I thought it was really cool. There's a really good all-in episode on this where it's, it's billionaires talking. So you're always wondering like what their, ulterior motive is. But they had some really good points of like, taking these little kids that are looking up at communism right now and saying, hey, this is our only hope. Like we don't have hope. You give someone $1,000 and it accrues over time and people start to see this. You have a 12-year-old now looking at their cell phone and they're excited that they have $10,000 of stocks that can talk about it and they're in the game, And so I think it's a net bullish thing besides the money injection. I think it's almost a fight back against communism in some ways and socialism because it does, a lot of these people just look up and they see no hope. Now, granted, $1,000 is not a lot, but they start to see the compounding and over time, by the time they're 12, 15 years old and looking at their phone and their cell phone, it's exciting. And that's what the bullish case on Hood too is like, all right, all these people have the money in the Hood's accounts. All this young generation start going to use it. So just my quick tidbit on that piece.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money that can, like, again, $1,000 is not much, but then when you give $1 to a kid, they can imagine 100 things they can do with it, right? So yeah. I'm just giving you a ballpark, like, you give them $10, they can think about 100 different things they want to do, right? So $1,000 goes a long way, and obviously that also gets induced into capitalism and growth and things like that. It's a long story short, I think it's a good thing for the kids, and also I think they something that I've always talked about when I go to like guest lectures or something like many Americans, for being in a capitalistic country, do not know how to invest their money, which is very weird to me.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
From a third world country like India, obviously I got that exposure from my mom and dad, who themselves are like great traders, but like investors, traders. But when I talk to certain people here, like people who are going to college or things like, they just don't know anything about.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to like, my wife's a teacher, and I didn't love like core and their they should be teaching kids finance early on, understanding, the value of $1 and compounding. I had a few classes in college like that, but those were classes I chose to take, and like that education needs to go to children that are young to start thinking about that, feeling like they're into the game. And beyond that, like any company that's in the, S&P 500, they can use that as an expense or, as philanthropy dollars that, from a tax perspective. And it comes right back to them, and it's going to come right back to the companies that they're in. So it's from a billionaire's perspective, it makes them look like heroes now again. Whereas there's a lot of like demonizing these billionaires. They can give it back and get it right back. So there's like a little loophole for the billionaires too. So it's a circular economy that I'm happy for, because I think it will start to teach some, younger generation about investing.
Yep.
So
absolutely agree.
Tidbit there. I did see SK Hynix. Was that SK Hynix up 20 something %?
Oh yeah. Where was that? Yeah.
I had to zoom. 23% right there.
Yeah, it was right here. I was looking at some 200 calls today on the weekly. I think they bought them at around $6 or something, $5 or something, and yeah, it absolutely.
They finally have the ADR now for the U.S. folks to buy in. So I wonder the effect. I didn't look at DRAM. If money went, people wanted just. Let's see, DRAM's also doing well.
Oh wow,
that makes sense.
It's actually a good island bottom too, so it probably might be a very good play for the weekly. I mean, I would have played it if this was not an OPEX peak. OPEX peaks are weird, like they have the gamma walls that they don't let the prices cross. So it's like,
Yeah, that is something to factor in here. We were talking about the guy before you. We were talking with like Netflix. We were talking about they had some small caps that we don't need to touch on, but like Netflix earnings is Thursday. Just been getting demolished, all negative news. There's no like growth story really. Curious your take on Netflix, because it moves quick when it does.
Yeah, I mean it's like at this zone where it's a strong support zone per se. Um, I wouldn't play options on this per se at this point, but right now it looks pretty bad in my opinion. I mean, there are better stocks out there to invest your money in.
Yeah.
Like if you really like Netflix, why don't you just go after Amazon, which has the same, it has Amazon Prime per se. So you get the benefits of owning a streaming platform.
Look at one above that, just because Nebius, I've been playing that absolutely horrible. I'll admit it. You can't play it worse than I've played it, to be honest. And it's in my IRA, so I'm a complete idiot to even touch it. But it went up to, I think it went up to like the 220 range. It came down to like 185, and I was like, fuck, like we were talking about with 180, it could go down to 150. And so I trimmed some of my positions. Then I got excited because they just got that new $1 billion deal. There was a lot of encouraging news flow coming towards that. And then they got hit today, which I don't know if it's because of the New York situation where they put a moratorium for a year.
I think there was a New York news. Both NBIS and Corvée both got hit.
But it was quite the swing because it was up 5%, I believe, 3 or 4% maybe in the beginning, like pre-market. Then it came down, so it's like actually like a 10-point swing.
Yeah, 22, actually 20-point swing.
Yeah. So pretty crazy pre-market to move. What does it look like now? Is it going to go down to 150, like you said?
168. Yeah, 168 is what I'm thinking. Yeah, like remember I told you this when this trend line broke, Avi.
Yeah.
This is exactly where I was like being very cautious with NBIS, and this is absolutely drew down. I thought it would, like on this pop on that $1 billion deal, I thought it would go back to like 240 to retest this trend line and can short it back down. But obviously the 9 EMA is curling under the 20 and is a strong resistance.
Sam said something good where he's like, on good news, if it's still going down, that's really bad.
Never touch it. Yeah.
So I made a commitment to not touch it. So I'm going to ride this down and just keep it in my account. But I can see that happening. So we'll see. What stocks are you looking at today? Because we didn't touch on it before the show. So I'll let you kind of run through some of those, and I'll add some commentary where I can.
Yeah, so a few stocks that I'm definitely looking at, most of them remain in the chip sector. The first one, obviously AMD, it's retesting that trend line that it broke out of, and it is holding that trend line. I think there is news on them coming up too next week with the AI conference that they have. There is a high chance we see like 585 or something like that retesting on AMD. Again, there is a potential of a deeper pullback intraday towards that 540, 542 kind of range. That is where I would be more interested in playing options on this one. But right now, this is something that I'm definitely having it on my radar because this is one of the stocks that has been extremely strong, and also the news coming out next week. Obviously, they have there is ASML earnings tomorrow pre-market.
Earnings tomorrow.
Chips. Yep.
Go to that chart quick because Caleb, who was just on here, thinks the move already happened. On the earnings, and he thinks they'll blow out earnings, but the stock may not reflect that and fly from that.
That's typically what ASML does, like all the time. Like there is a move, and then it's usually a dud after off its earnings. But the other chip sectors and chip stocks move much better than ASML does. But overall, it did fall off from that 2000 level pretty hard, and it's hard to really say if it's like priced in or not. If we do see like a gap up over 1830 or something like that, there's a high chance we'll see that 1980 to 2000 again in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks. So obviously this is a much slower mover. You can't really play buy options on this one. It's very hard to play buy options, but selling options is one of the best stocks out there to make a lot of money.
Yeah. AAOI, I'm looking at that popped a lot too today.
But AOI, once this trend line broke down, I have not been looking at it at all. Obviously, 102 to like 82 range is where, somewhere between that is where I would want to see a base. Right now, it is definitely basing and a big pop off here as well, which looks kind of good. But then, like it has blown down a lot of by a lot. So this is something that I'm not even looking at.
Yeah, I feel like the photonics trade happened, you
Yep.
know, and people got excited about it, learned about it. And now everyone's in the room,
Yep.
and now the funds are probably coming out of there.
Yep.
What else are we eyeing here?
This is the same thing with light too, Avi. Like, light also broke down. Like it had a similar trend line.
Yeah, makes sense.
I can draw the same kind of trend line, broke down, retested and then broke down. Now it's kind of retesting that trend line again. I would be more skeptical about buying calls or playing the upside on these stocks than playing the downside on them. What if the market is going to fall off? These are the stocks that I would definitely target to play the downside.
Yeah. What about what's been going crazy? All the cybersecurity names have been going. Or you can pull Micron up while you got it. But
yeah, Micron, this is looking good too. Like this trend line has been holding. Yesterday we retested it. We went back over 1045. See, like the thing about Micron, and one of the best plays that you can have with Micron is once this is past the number that Burry is short on. Michael Burry, I think he was short at 1055. Once that level breaks, 1055 level breaks, there'll be a squeeze kind of move towards the upside, towards the all-time highs again. Any dip towards this trend line, the trend line is absolutely holding. And if the trend line breaks is something that I'll be more concerned about right now. So selling CSPs on these bloated premiums is one of the best ways. And I think if it does fall off, you can own the stock at around 800, 850, 700. All of these are good ad zones for Micron. The same thing, I cannot say the same thing for SNDK. Look at SNDK. It had this trend line and then it broke down, retested the trend line and was able to capture that trend line. And 9 and 20 is also crossing down now. Obviously, it does have like nice little pops intraday, but then once you see the pop and then there's quite a bit of resistance and it goes down. I'm not saying this will never go up or will never go back to 2300 or something. At least in the short term of sense, every pop seems to be fading right now on SNDK, especially the trend line is where it's retested it twice last week and has fallen off. So I'm a little skeptical on SNDK at this point as well.
Yeah, go to Reddit. Reddit's another one we've been talking about a ton of. Still waiting for those catalysts. It had its big move, then it's been like basing a little bit here.
Yeah, I think Reddit. Let's see, we can draw some short-term trend lines here too. I think this can. If it was not OPEX week, I would be more confident in this, in saying that it would break out of the 205 zone. Right now, I think it's a double inside day. No, it's not a double inside day, but then there's quite a bit of compression that's happening here in this range of 205 to 195. So that's about 10 points. So when Reddit breaks that 205 zone, I think there's a 20-point move, which takes it all the way up to like 235, 238. On Reddit, I think there's quite a bit of move that can happen on Reddit once that 205 level kind of breaks. But obviously, again, OPEX week, I like to be more careful and cautious during OPEX weeks because they create these walls, the gamma walls, which they can't. It's very hard to penetrate them through, and the market will just range and eat all your premiums up. So I'll wait for the trend line break or the 205 level to break to actually look into what to do with Reddit.
Speaking of a break, let's take a quick break to talk about the World Cup, which on Predicts, which is one of our sponsors here, which is really cool. It's a prediction market purely based off of Bitcoin. But since this game starts, I was just looking at the time. I'm like, oh, shit, there's only like 7 minutes now till the drop. Got a big game, Spain and France here coming up. Who's your pick? I don't know if you've been watching the World Cup. Who'd you take?
My pick is France. I've been supporting France and England. I hate Argentina. I am a Ronaldo fan, full disclosure, but then it's not because of Ronaldo that I hate Argentina. I like Messi too, but then I just don't like their whole strategy of how they play the game. Like, it's kind of weird.
There's been a lot of controversy, I'd say, with Argentina overall. France has been the favorite. It just ticked up again, 41% now, what we're seeing. But we'll see with the Spain today. Spain's got a great defense. I don't think they've let up a score, or maybe one score the entire tournament.
I mean, France has never won any major tournament game against Spain, and that's one stat. And then France has never been. I mean, Mbappe has never been knocked out of the World Cup per se. So it's an interesting matchup. I'm very excited to watch the game.
The asymmetric bet here with Spain only at 11%. Oh, it just popped up as we're talking, 14%.
Oh.
Which was going to be what I was going to say. If they get past France, it's anyone's game, and much better than just playing Spain on like DraftKings or anything like that. So check them out, predicts.com, PREDYX.com. Free to make an account, and it's fun. It's if you want to start to get Bitcoin, as Bitcoin's starting to peak up. Let's actually go to that chart too. Back over to yours. Take this one off. Hold on, let's do this and then this. There we go. Yeah, Bitcoin's starting to get a little. I still think we're there quite yet. I think as we head into the fall, it will start to creep up a little bit more. But we've had a little bit of life here. All the Bitcoiners are anytime it ticks up a little bit, we're like, we're fucking back, baby. But I don't know if we are yet.
So about Bitcoin, I will tell you one thing. This is one of my predictions that has come true multiple times, not just once. And this is something that I predicted in 2020, 2022, both on SPY, never on Bitcoin, both on SPY. I'm trying to use the same mechanic on Bitcoin on the weekly chart where you have a bullish divergence. You see a lower low on the price, but a higher low on the RSI. This is a clean, clear bullish divergence on a weekly time frame. It's not the daily time frame, it's the weekly time frame. Okay. So you need to give it a little bit more time, right? Like you probably will see a bigger pop, or this is where I would also say, actually, this is something that I've seen in SPY 2 years in a row, 2020, 2022. I think I saw this in 2024 or 2025. I kind of forget which one, but I think I saw that on the daily. So I'm not going to talk about that. But 2020, 2022, I have seen the same kind of setup on SPY where we caught the absolute bottom. I'm not going to say I take the absolute bottom. I'm saying, if someone asks me, is this the bottom? I would say yes, right? But technically, this is not the bottom because we are like 8,000 points off the bottom, right? But, so when I saw a similar setup on SPY, after 2022 October is when I saw it. I remember this very distinctly, and that's when we went long, and 2 years of an amazing bull run happened. Mm-hmm. The same kind of thing is happening with Bitcoin at this price, is something that I am looking at right now, and I would want to say
that's a big indicator because you hate Bitcoin usually. Well, you don't like MSTR, fair.
Yeah, I hate MSTR. I like Bitcoin. It's I don't like any other shit coins, but like Bitcoin is my only game in the crypto, and I feel Bitcoin has bottomed for this year. Not even for this year. I think for the next couple of years, Bitcoin at this price is something that we will not see. Is what I'm thinking. Like, again, two very different instruments. I've not seen a setup like this on Bitcoin in the past. Yeah. I did see this in SPY 2020, 2022. Both times I hit really big on them. So I think Bitcoin is at the price where you want to probably add them into your Roths or your kids' Roths or whatever that is. And I think this is a good price to add on to, is in my opinion.
Well, I got to go to this website real quick. BitcoinIsDead.com, I think it is. No, hold on. Bitcoin is dead. And then we'll go to the next one just because BitcoinDeaths.com. I like to show this just because every one of my friends is always saying Bitcoin is dead. And then I show them this, how many times Bitcoin has been declared dead. Every time it's been declared dead, that's when you invest, right? And $100 each time that a major news outlet said it was dead, you'd have $67 million.
My God.
So it's a fun website to take a look. It's got like the timeline. It shows like who talked about it. And they had some cool art when I was in Bitcoin Hong Kong. I bought one for $100. That was just like a quote. I don't have it here. It's in my New York place, but super fun to watch as a Bitcoiner. Just like any Bitcoiner is not scared because we've seen this happen multiple times. And when it's up, people want it. When it's down, people call it dead. It's going to keep chugging, in my opinion. But that's it for the Bitcoin stuff. Let's get back to stocks. Wait, I need to remove the other one. Sorry. There we go. What else are you looking at? I saw Crowd was up 11%. Crowd's
Crowd. I think all the crypto cybersecurity names, they had a huge, massive pop, making new all-time highs. CRWD, Palo Alto Networks is another one. That's going up to, like, I think Palo Alto Networks has more room to run. It's looking pretty good. I think that's not a valid trend line. So
yes, one that Joey wanted me to have you chart, actually, because he did a great job. Joey did call this a few weeks back, that security names, and they were getting in hack. We have JFDI come on now and Mondays. And they were talking about these names last week and since. But Zscaler was another one that he said has not been like getting as much love. I guess today it did.
Today it did, but look at where it's from, the all-time highs.
Yeah, I mean, it's fucking crazy. ZS has been a name we've been talking about for years.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with this stock, though. Every time it pops right up to that 200 zone, it just gets dumped super hard.
What are we looking at on like the weekly here? Or I guess on
the weekly also, like, it looks kind of terrible.
I didn't realize that.
I mean, I don't know. I have played this a few times, but then let's see if this thing can break. Maybe I've played this a few times, but then this does not follow technical analysis on the charts pretty well. Like, there are certain stocks which don't follow technical analysis at all, like ZS, like BAA. Boeing is another one, a good example of that. USO is another example of that. Like, there are XOM, CVX. These are some stocks that never follow technical analysis. So,
it makes sense. A lot of the traders they tend to talk about the same names. I mean, a lot of options stocks that are like, that's crazy. Anything else you've been eyeing here? Trade of the week or anything?
NVIDIA is one that I'm looking at. NVIDIA, I think this one goes to 215 this week. There's long way to go for NVIDIA. It can go to 215 this week and 218, 222. All of these are open for attack for the bulls. One of the biggest news that came out a few weeks back, and it has repeated today, is I think the U.S. Commerce Ministry or someone said H200s are being shipped to China for NVIDIA. And Jensen has said this multiple times on the conference calls as well, where he said essentially NVIDIA's revenue in China has been absolutely zero. Now there is some revenue coming in. So, the market kind of takes it in bullish in the short term of sense, and it's a good sentiment for the market. I think this also kind of pops all the other chips as well, like AMD, AVGO, ARM, Intel. All of these can pop. But there's another one. NVIDIA is one that I'm looking at. I'm definitely looking at
those 215s on the weekly are dirt cheap, 83 cents right now.
No, they were $1 because I saw them. We picked them up at $1.
Okay, I think right now they're at 83. So I'm
is it 715 or 717 you're looking at?
Oh, sorry. I'm jeez. hate these new rules here. You're right. Okay, at 213. So my apologies. Yes, I hate these. Well, it's cool that they have them now, but it does throw you off when you're always looking for the weeklies.
I know. I do that all the time. I always look at it. And
I mean, it's important to bring up on the show because I feel like I've missed them a million times.
Yep.
And you gotta keep watching them. Yeah, I'll buy 5 of these here for you. We'll join.
No, they're already up 100%. Avi. Be careful.
So then people should short it if I just bought it. That's the Avi Oppo indicator. You gotta go. Anything else that is? Jody from the rafters here is asking about hymns.
Hymns. I don't even know what that.
Hymns is the Eli Lilly's little brother, or trying to be, with the peptides, and they have the Viagra, or they got big because Viagra ran out of their not trademark, but after a certain amount of years it goes public, right? And Hims captured that market. They captured the Rogaine market similarly, and then it's been a nice little run though.
A little bit. I mean, I don't know. I'm very skeptical about investing in companies that can be replicated very easily by everybody.
Plus, like so big pharma is not gonna, like the Retta drug. That's not gonna go to them, and that one's gonna be like huge for Eli Lilly. Like well beyond some, like the numbers. If you've looked at any of those studies, it's like the miracle drug where it like not only makes you lose weight, your kidney function comes back. You're like fatty liver, like 1 in 3 people have fatty liver. It like takes that down 90%. So Lilly's the one that you buy the best in the business. Go to Lilly stock since we're talking about.
I love LLY. I think I was the first person on like a long time back. I've never seen people talk about LLY, and I was like, this is $1 trillion.
You brought it to FinTwit.
Yeah. This is $1 trillion company, and then like we had that huge RAM.
Yeah, I mean,
I still remember this one.
That was the not Wegovy. What's the big one? Ozempic.
Yes.
That during the Ozempic run.
Yep.
And now the Retta run is going to happen in a year or so whenever it gets approved and pushed out there. Because like every doctor will prescribe that. I mean, 1 in 3 people have fatty liver. That's a reason to do it. Like kidney function, all this stuff.
One of my friend was telling me that because his mom was pre-diabetic, he gets to use his insurance to buy GLP-1 in the future Retta.
I need to get them as a sponsor, and I'll just start to thin out my face, and I'll start to look like Jody with the chisel line Juds. Anything else that you are keeping an eye on? What's your trade? I don't know if you want to share your trade of the week, but maybe.
AVGO is the trade of my trade of the week. I'm waiting for this trend line to break out. I think there's a big move towards that 423 to 437, 440 zone. So I'm just waiting for that break. It did a nice run today, but then it's still like hitting that resistance at 395. Hasn't broken above the trend line yet, and I'm just waiting on that right now. The other one is ARM. I don't know why it's down right now with all the great news. Obviously, it had a downgrade today. That's the only negative news I see on ARM. But then after Trump talked about the Japanese investments and the trade deals that are there going on with Japan, I mean, ARM is a European company, but then the major investments are from Japan on ARM. So I was hoping there would be a bigger move here, probably back to around 300 to 320-ish. So this is another stock that I'm looking at the moment.
What did you like on the Avgos? Was that weeklies you liked?
Yeah, the weekly 420 calls. Once that 400 breaks, that's something that I'll be looking out for.
Let's make it happen. I just grabbed those as well. Just full transparency. I'll announce all my trades. Like I move the markets. my $1,000 I put in there. Very cool. Well, we can wrap it if I know we didn't prep. This has been a crazy week for me all week with I was at my family's lake house in Minnesota. Well, I turned everything off, which was phenomenal to like finally like not look at charts, not look at any stocks, not look at any news. Turn my brain off basically for 2 to 3 days. So I'm revving that thing back up. But
that's good.
we will let's go Avgo. We'll be cheering that one on from here from the sidelines, and we'll be back. Is there anything else? Then we can let you go here.
I think that's about it. I think the game also started.
Oh shit! Yeah, we're 9 minutes in.
Yeah.
Everyone go watch that. But before you do, and we'll let you go, Problem Sniper. If you need money to trade in the stock market and you have a bunch of Bitcoin, go to Arch Lending. Our friends over at Arch Lending, no rehypothecation. They can take your Bitcoin without any tax ramifications, and you can get cash for your Bitcoin today. Go to archlending.com/dailystack, and you get 1%. They're already lowest rates in the market. So check them out, archlending.com/dailystack. Hope everyone has a phenomenal trading week, and we will be back here tomorrow to talk some AI with Jody. We got one more comment here. The goat South Indian dish. Interesting. So if you're into South Indian food, you can check out Jody's and see if Sniper replies to him. That would be a fun one. So I'm off to grab some food and go meet my wife and kids, but everyone else enjoy. Talk to you guys tomorrow.